Namaste everyone. Welcome back to the physics class. In the last class we have seen about the different types of collisions. Perfectly elastic collision, perfectly inelastic collision, and the type of collision where the bodies stick together after collision called perfectly inelastic, and the type of collision where momentum is conserved and kinetic energy is also conserved called perfectly elastic collision. And today, using those conditions of perfectly elastic and inelastic, we will try to get the relation between the final velocities and the initial velocities of the different bodies which are colliding. For that, we will take an example. We will take a system where the two bodies are colliding with each other. We will name the particles as, the first particle is named as m1 and its velocity is v1i. So I will name it as v1i. In the same direction, let us consider another particle of mass m2 and moving with the velocity v2i like this. So its velocity is v2i, right? Okay, I'll write it here. So consider two particles of masses m1 and m2 moving with the different velocities v1i and v2i in the same direction. Let them collide, and after collision let them move in different directions like this. Say one moves like this. Say it's so this is the first particle and its mass is m1 and it is moving with the velocity v1f, its final velocity of the first particle after collision. And let the second object move in this direction and its mass is m2 and its final velocity is v2f. And let they collide and split in different angles theta 1 and theta 2. Let the angle at which they move, let the direction of velocities after collision be different. Let it make an angle of theta 1 and theta 2 with the initial velocity direction. So this is what we consider. So here are so many things we have written, but it's very simple. Two particles of masses m1 and m2 moving with velocity v1i and v2i. They collide, change their direction, move with velocities v1f and v2f. And they make some angle while they move like this. So they make some angle with the original directions. Now we will derive the loss of kinetic energy because of the perfectly inelastic collision. You know that perfectly inelastic collision is a type of collision where the bodies stick together after collision. So there is no conservation of kinetic energy there. Kinetic energy is lost in the form of some other form like heat or so. Okay, so we are going to find out loss of kinetic energy. So this is our first derivation, loss of kinetic energy due to perfectly inelastic collision. Okay, I will write only this much. So loss of kinetic energy due to perfectly inelastic collision. That is what we are going to do now today. Okay, how to find out the loss of kinetic energy due to perfectly inelastic collision? We have to use in the conditions. We know that in a perfectly inelastic collision, momentum is conserved even though kinetic energy is not conserved. The total kinetic energy before collision and total kinetic energy after collision may not be same, but momentum is conserved. Total momentum before collision and after collision are same. But we will minimize our discussion to some conditions here. One thing is, we will assume that the second object is at rest, v2i is equal to 0. Let us make this conclusion. Sir, suppose our second object is also moving with some velocity. Let us go to that later. Let us discuss about that later. For the time being, we will say that the second object is at rest. That means a body of mass m1 moving with the velocity v1i is going and hitting to the second object. Okay, which is at rest, v2i is equal to 0. And also, let after collision, they stick together and move together after collision in the same direction as the initial direction. That means theta 1 is 0 and theta 2 is 0. Let us assume this also. And let the final velocities be common because it is a perfectly inelastic collision. So v1f is equal to v2f. I will take it as vf. Let the final velocities be the same, right? Now, using these conditions, let us apply law of conservation of momentum, linear momentum. So, let us apply the law of conservation of momentum. According to the law of conservation of linear momentum, you can write the total momentum before collision and after collision are same. What is the total momentum before collision? The first object, mass into velocity. Mass into velocity of the first object plus mass into velocity of the second object. Second object is taken to be at rest, v2i is 0. is equal to the mass of the first object into its final velocity common, they stick together and move together after collision, plus m2 vf. Now from this expression we will get the final velocity, common final velocity. It is like this: m1 v1i is equal to m1 plus m2 into vf. Okay, what is vf? That implies the common final velocity is m1 plus m2, sorry, it is m1 v1i divided by m1 plus m2. So m1 by m1 plus m2 into v1i. So this is the common final velocity after collision. So one conclusion is made. So if the two objects stick together after collision, the common final velocity is m1 by m1 plus m2 into v1i. Now let us go for the loss of kinetic energy. Loss of kinetic energy after collision, delta K is equal to the initial kinetic energy half m1 v1 I square. Initial kinetic energy of the first object only. Second object is at rest, plus 0 minus the final kinetic energy. Of course, final kinetic energy, the two bodies are sticking together and moving together after collision. So total mass into common velocity square, half m square, half m1 plus m2 into vf whole square, right? So delta K is equal. Hope you have followed this one. The initial energy minus final energy, kinetic energy. Initial kinetic energy is only due to the first object, half m1 v1 I square, plus another object 0, minus final kinetic energy is the total kinetic energy when they are moving together. That is m1 plus m2 v square, half m v square, right? Half m1 v1 I square minus half m1 plus m2. Now why can't I use this vf from this equation? Because we have got the common final velocity. However, we use this expression here. So what is vf square? Vf square is m1 square v1i square, m1 square v1i square divided by m1 plus m2 whole square. Hope you have followed this. Half common mass, that is total mass, common velocity. Final common velocity is m1 by m1 plus m2 into v1i. So m1 v1i square and m1 plus m2 whole square. Now out of these two, one m1 m2 plus m2 will get cancelled. It is as if x square and x by x square is 1 by x. 1x will get cancelled. So what is the loss of kinetic energy? Half m1 v1i square minus half. So I will write it like this: m1 v1i square into m1 by m1 plus m2 whole square. I split it because no m1 plus m2 whole square. One m1 plus m2 has been cancelled. So m1 into m1, that gives m1 square. m1 square is written as m1 into m1. v1i square as it is, because I can take this m1 v1i square, m1 v1i square common. So what is the loss of kinetic energy? Half m1 v1i square common into 1 minus, here half m1 v1i square common, 1 m1 is extra because both have squares, m1 divided by m1 plus m2. Okay, loss of kinetic energy is equal to half m1 v1i square into, we will take m1 plus m2 common, 1 m1 plus m2 are minus this 1 are m1. So m1 gets cancelled. So what will remain here? Loss of kinetic energy due to collision, m1 and this m2. So loss of kinetic energy is equal to half, I will write v1i square at the end, m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2, m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2 v1i square. So this equation gives the loss of kinetic energy due to collision in a perfectly inelastic collision where the bodies stick together after collision. So this is the amount of energy loss, kinetic energy loss. It may appear in the form of heat or sound. So half m1 m2 divided by m1 plus m2 v1i square. Whereas this equation gives the final common velocity of the two bodies after collision. So this is one application. right? So, but we had some conditions here that the particles were moving in the same direction even after collision, and the common final velocity, of course, that is according to the perfectly inelastic collision, and initially the second body was at rest. Okay, now we will find out the final velocities of the two bodies after collision in a perfectly elastic collision. You know what is a perfectly elastic collision? A type of collision where kinetic energy is conserved and momentum is also conserved. Both are conserved. So let us take a perfectly elastic collision, and we will find out the final velocity of the two velocities of the two bodies after collision. Here also we should have some conditions. Okay, so I'll consider the same diagram, or I will draw it again so that it becomes easier for you. So let us consider two objects. One of mass m1 moving in the direction like this, v1i, its velocity. Okay, I'll write it like here only, v1i, and it collides with another object, v2i, moving with velocity v2i like this. Okay, and its mass is m2. After collision, let them move in this direction. So this is the first one, m1, and its velocity is final m1 v1f, and another one is splitting like this. Its mass is m2 and its velocity is v2f. It is moving like this. With respect to the original direction, let their angles of deflection be theta 1 and theta 2. Okay, so two particles of masses m1 and m2 colliding with each other. m1 moving with the velocity v1i and m2 moving with the velocity v2i, and after collision they split in different directions. But again, we will restrict our conditions here. We are considering a perfectly elastic collision where momentum is conserved and kinetic energy is also conserved. Let the second object be at rest, v2i be equal to 0 again. Suppose v2 is also moving, suppose the second object is also moving. Let us see what to do. So the second object is at rest, and let theta 1 is equal to 0 and theta 2 is equal to 0. That means even after collision they keep on moving in the same direction as before. So let us make these two conclusions. And you know that in perfectly elastic collision, momentum is conserved and kinetic energy is conserved. Both kinetic energy and momentum are conserved. That means total momentum before collision must be equal to total momentum after collision. Total kinetic energy before collision is equal to total kinetic energy after collision. So according to law of conservation of momentum, what you will get? According to law of conservation of momentum. So what we can derive? That we will do first. Total momentum before and after collision are same. Compared to the previous derivation, here the final velocities are not the same. They may be moving in the same direction, theta 1 and theta 2 may be 0, but final velocities are different. So m1 v1i plus 0. The momentum of this is 0. That is total momentum before collision. After collision, m1 v1f plus m2 v2f. Velocities are different. So I'll take this as equation 1. So if I can write it again, m1 v1i must be equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f. So this is equation 1. Now I will bring this one here, m1 v1i minus m1 v1f, or I could have taken m1 common and you could have written m1 into v1i minus v1f. So v1f is equal to m2 v2f. You take it as equation 2. Okay. So these equations are very much needed. So you should, while deriving all these very long derivations, you should have an algorithm and a flow chart or a skeleton of that. What to do? First apply law of conservation of momentum. Get ready with the equation. Final momentum, initial momentum, same. Of course, there is no necessity of writing these two. It is one and the same. Then apply the conservation of kinetic energy. If kinetic energy is conserved, what you will get? Then mix up the two equations. You will get the final velocity of the first object, final velocity of the second object. That is our aim. Our aim is to get the final velocities of the two objects. So we will assume that we will use the energy conservation, kinetic energy conservation. Since it is a perfectly elastic collision, kinetic energy before and after collision must be same, right? So since kinetic energy is conserved, so what we can write? Since it is conserved, half m1 v1 I square, half m1 v1 I square, the total kinetic energy of this body before collision, this one 0, must be equal to half m1 v1 f square. It is different from this one because they are not having common velocities, half m2 v2 f square. Hope you have followed. Total kinetic energy before collision is only for the first object. Second object is assumed to be at rest. And then final velocities we know, v1f and v2f. So this is the total kinetic energy after collision. Okay. Okay. Right. Then, is it all right now? Yes. Half can be taken outside and it can be cancelled. m1 v1 I square must be equal to m1 v1 f square plus m2 v2 f square. And I think I can bring, as I did here, I can bring m1 v1 f square to this side. m1 becomes common, v1 I square minus v1 f square is equal to m2 v2 f into v2 f, I'll write. Why did you split this? Very simple. We have m2 v2 f ready here. You know what is m2 v2 f? m2 v2 f is nothing but m1 v1 I minus m1 v1 f. So shall we substitute it here? So m1 into v1 I square minus v1 f square is equal to m2 v2 f, m1 v1 I minus m1 v1 f, m1 into v1I minus v1f. Okay, so I could have written it like that way also. m1 into v1I minus v1f is equal to m2 v2f. So m2 v2f is over. What is about another v2f? You should have an extra v2f because here we have m2 v2f square. So m2 v2f into m2 v2f. For this one we get the substitution here, m2 v2f. m1 into v1I minus v1f. Now bring this inside. So I think I can cancel m1. Then v1I square minus v1f square. v1I square minus v1f square is equal to v1I minus v1f into v2f. Now, does it look like a square minus b square? A minus b, right? Splitting this v1I square minus v1f square as v1I plus v1f, a plus b into a minus b, v1I minus v1f. So a square minus b square is a plus b into a minus b is equal to v1I minus v1f into this v2f. Okay, so one v1I minus v1f gets cancelled. So what is this? v1I plus v1f is equal to v2f. So we have got one equation which connects the velocities. It's very beautiful. You say velocity of the second object after collision, final velocity of the second object is equal to initial velocity of the first object plus final velocity of the first object. So final velocity of the first object and the initial velocity of the first object is equal to the final velocity of the second object. So v2f equal to v1I plus v1f. So this is needed for us. So let me take it as equation 3. Now my aim is to get the final velocities of the two objects after collision. So what I'll do now, substitute this v2f value now. So we will substitute this one in the first equation. So using 3 in 1, using equation 3 in 1. We'll do that now. Hope this is needed. Yes, using equation 3 in equation 1, what you'll get? m1 v1I is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f plus m2, what is v2f? v1I plus v1f, v1I plus v1f, right? m1 v1I is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v2f. v2f can be brought from here. v2f is equal to v1I plus v1f. So spread this now. m1 v1I is equal to m1 v1f plus m2 v1i plus m2 v1f, right? m1 v1f, m2 v1i, m2 v1f, right? That is over. Now you can club v1i and v1f together. You see, these two can be clubbed together. Bring this one here. m1 into v1i minus v1f. Sorry, v1i is common. Sorry, v1i is common and m1 minus m2. v1i m1 minus m2 is equal to, here in these two terms v1f is common. v1f is equal to m1 plus m2. So from this you could derive what is v1f. So velocity of the first object at the end after collision is equal to this one here only, m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2, and velocity of the first object before collision, initial velocity. So this is one conclusion we derive. So v1f is equal to m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i. So the best idea to remember is, first you have to apply the law of conservation of momentum, then law of conservation of kinetic energy, and use that formula here in this equation, substitute, use this for getting that back, and then you will get the equation for final velocity of the second object, v2f equal to v1i plus v1f. Use it again in here and you will get the final velocity of the first object. Now substitute this one, I'll take it as equation 4. Substitute 4 once again in this equation 3, using 4 in 3, because I want to get what is the final velocity of the second object also. Substitute it here. What you will get? v1i, okay, plus v1f, plus v1f is here, m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i is equal to, right? So we are writing this equation, equation 3rd, v1i plus v1f. v1f is got from here, m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i is equal to v2f, is equal to v2f. Now take v1i common, v1i common into 1 plus m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into, okay, v1i is taken common, 1 plus m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2 is equal to v2f. Now what is v2f? v2f is equal to, take m1 plus m2 common, m1 plus m2, then here you have 1 m1 plus m2 za, m1 plus m2 za 1 m1 plus m2, this m1 plus m2 1 za, this becomes plus m1 minus m2, right? So m1 plus m2 here and m1 minus m2 here, m2 gets cancelled. So what is this? And you have v1i, v1i I haven't written, v1i, this v1i. So what is v2f? v2f is equal to 2m1 here, 2m1 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i. So this is the velocity for the second object after collision. So v1f is equal to m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i. v2f is equal to 2m1 divided by m1 plus m2 into v1i. So these two derivations are very important. So substituting one in another, but you should be very careful where you have to substitute and where you have to get the things done. Okay. Now I'll write it and have some conclusions here. Okay, this is not needed now. We have derived it. So right. Now, so if v1f is written here, m1 minus m2 divided by m1 plus m2. This is one conclusion into v1i, and velocity of the second object final is 2m1 divided by 2m1 v1i divided by m1 plus m2. Okay, this is another one. Now suppose in this perfectly elastic collision where both momentum and kinetic energy are conserved, suppose the masses of the two objects, case 1, if m1 is equal to m2, if the masses of the two objects are equal, what is the conclusion? It is very interesting. If m1 is equal to m2, what happens to the final velocity of the first object? It becomes 0. v1f becomes 0. If m1 is equal to m2, denominator is not 0, numerator is 0, so answer is 0. What about this one? What happens to this one? v2f becomes, v2f is equal to, if m1 is equal to m2, you will take both as m1. This becomes 2m1, m1 plus m2 is 2m1, so I will substitute it. 2m1 divided into v1i divided by m1 plus m1, because m2 is also taken as m1. Then v2f becomes is equal to v1i, because it is 2m1 by 2m1 cancels, v2f equal to v1i. What is the conclusion from this? If the masses of the two objects are equal, if the second object is at rest, first object is moving, it comes to rest, so v2f is v1f is 0, the first object comes to rest, second object moves with the same velocity as the first one. That is the conclusion. Hope you can follow it, right? So if the two objects have same masses in perfectly elastic collision, right? In the case of perfectly elastic collision, if the masses are equal, if the second object is at rest, then the first object goes and hits to the second object, it comes to rest. Second object starts moving with the same velocity as the first one. So very interesting. And suppose the second object is much heavier than the first one. What is the conclusion? Case 2. Case 2. If m2 is much greater than m1, what will be the conclusion? If m2 is much greater than m1, what happens to this equation? The first equation, I will write it here. If m2 is much greater than m1, then v1f becomes, you can neglect this m1, so it is negative, and denominator is also m1 can be neglected, because when m2 is very large, what is the use of adding it to m1 and subtracting it? So it becomes m2 gets cancelled, but this becomes negative, lesser quantity minus larger quantity, so answer is negative. So v1f is almost equal to, so neglect m1. When m1 is very small, you can neglect m1, minus m2 divided by m2, this one, into v1i. So that comes to v1f is almost equal to v1i, but negative. What is the conclusion? If m2, this object is much larger and the first object is very small, for a heavy stone, if a small marble goes and hits, it returns back with the same velocity. That is the conclusion here, right? So final velocity of the first object is the negative of the initial velocity of the first object. That means the first object returns back with the initial velocity itself, initial speed itself. So it goes, hits to the heavier object and returns back. Okay, and here, of course, if m2 is much greater than m1, what will happen to v2f? What will be the velocity of the second object? We concluded that the first one will go and hit to the second object and returns back. What about the second one? Second one, you see, if denominator is much more, because m2 is much more than m1. If the denominator is very high and the numerator is less, then this is almost equal to 0. So if m2 is much greater than m1, then the final velocity of the second object will be 0. So these two conclusions, right, can be drawn from these two equations. The equation here and the equation this one. So if the masses are equal and the second object is at rest, if the first object hits to the second object, first one will come to rest, second one will move with the same velocity forward. And if the second object is very heavy and at rest, first object will return back and the second object will be at rest only, and it doesn't move. So these are the two conclusions. Now suppose the motion is not in a straight line, if they are not moving in a straight line, if there is any deflection in the velocities or change in the direction of velocities from compared to the initial velocities, how do we conclude? Of course, we are not going to derive it. According to the situation, we have to solve it. We will consider such a situation where the two objects, they move in different directions after collision. Then the conclusion will be drawn like this. Okay, right, make the board clean. Yes. Okay. Now, so the first object is here and its mass is m1. It was moving with the velocity v1i. And the second one is here and its mass is m2. It was moving with the velocity v2i. And after collision, the first one moves with the velocity v1f and the second one moves with the velocity v2f, masses being the same, m2, m1, and they are changing their directions and at an angle theta 1 and theta 2. In such a case, if you want to write the conservation of momentum formula, what you have to do is you have to split this. Again, the splitting of vectors into two different directions. Of course, when you write the conservation of energy, you need not split the directions, because energy is a scalar quantity, it has no direction at all. Now I will take this as y-axis and this as minus y-axis, this as x-axis. If the objects deviate their directions, then conservation of momentum formula can be written as like this. Conservation of momentum. Of course, it is not a derivation, I am just guiding you how to write it. If momentum is conserved, of course it should be conserved. How do you write it? Now, the momentum of this particle along this direction, let me use colored chalk. Momentum of this particle along this direction, what is that? m1 v1f cos theta 1. What is the momentum of this particle here? m1 v1f sin theta 1. Am I right? Split this momentum. Momentum is a vector quantity. You can split it in different directions. So m1 v1f cos theta 1, m1 v1f sin theta 1. Split the momentum of this particle. m1, right, m2 v2f cos theta 2, m2 v2f cos theta 2, and split this here, m2 v2f sin theta 2. Okay, now write the total conservation of momentum principle. Total momentum before collision and total momentum after collision in the same direction must be 0. You have to consider one direction only. For example, along x direction, if you write it, what is the conservation principle? m1 v1i, that was along x direction, right? m1 v1i, that was the total momentum before collision. Only this object was having, and let us take this is at rest, v2i is at rest. m1 v1i must be equal to, second object is considered to be at rest, but after collision it also moves in this direction. First one moves here. Along this direction, what is the total momentum? Must be equal to m1 v1f cos theta 1 plus m2 v2f cos theta 2. m2 v2f cos theta 2. Total momentum in this direction of this object plus this object, the second one is taken to be 0 because it is at rest before collision. After collision, the total momentum of this here and there, this one here, add them. Only along x direction. What about along y direction? Along y-axis, how do you write the conservation of momentum formula? Along y direction, what is the momentum of this first object? 0. It was not moving along y-axis, it was moving along only x-axis, and its component along the perpendicular direction is 0. So 0 is equal to, however, this object is not moving. Hope you have followed. Since the first particle is moving only along x-axis, there is no component of this momentum along y-axis. So 0 plus 0 is equal to, what is the component of this particle along y direction? m1 v1f sin theta 1 plus the component of this velocity along this direction. Now it cannot be plus, it should be minus because it is along y-axis. Am I right? So this particle moves along plus y-axis, this is along minus y-axis, so minus m2 v2f sin theta 2. So what happens here is, this momentum and this momentum will be equal, and when they cancel each other, you will get answer 0. So total momentum after collision along y direction is equal to, along y direction there is no momentum before collision because all of them were moving along x-axis, and along y-axis here it is m1 v1f sin theta 1. This one is minus m2 v2f sin theta 2 because it is along y-axis. So you have to write minus j cap here plus j cap. So this is how you write the momentum conservation along y-axis and x-axis separately. What about conservation of kinetic energy? So to write the formula for conservation of kinetic energy, so for conservation of kinetic energy, you have to write the formula like this. It is as if you write as usual formula, because the half m1 v1i square plus 0 must be equal to half m1 v1 f square plus half m2 v2 f square. That's all, and nothing difference here because energy is a scalar quantity, it has no direction. So you can simply write the total energy, kinetic energy in both the cases. Of course, if this is moving, you can write half m2 v2 I square. That also can be taken into account. If it is not 0, half m2 v2 I square. That can also be written. So this is the way in which we study collisions, right? Each and every formula is important. Of course, even if you forget it, you can derive it there only. So the principle is very important. How do you derive the conservation of momentum, conservation of energy, kinetic energy, and how do we use it to get the final velocities in the collisions, and that too in different types of collisions. Hope you have understood all these things. Little bit longer derivations compared to your age, but still it is very easy. You have to practice it 2 or 3 times, then you will get it. But problems are very important here. We will work out the problems later. So hope you have followed this. Thanks for watching this class. Study this in a better way later. So thank you for watching my class. Thank you.